Yo, what's up, everybody? Today I'm gonna lean back in my chair a little bit. Maybe thinking about getting a little background. Hang on, maybe I'll do like a green screen or something. I don't know. So you get a better look at me. All right, we had a good day in the market today, folks. There's a lot of things I want to cover today. First of all, just market related. Yesterday was a pretty big drain. We saw a 9.7, almost a 10 billion drain yesterday, and that came mostly from employment taxes. 9.7 billion, almost a 10 billion drain. So that actually put us again behind where we were on December 14th. Remember, December 15th was, we got that big quarterly corporate tax drain, and we just, as of, what was this today, Monday, as of Friday, all of that was replaced, plus an additional 3 billion. So, we were back to where we were on December 14th, and then boom, yesterday, almost a 10 billion drain. These employment taxes are really sucking out a lot of, these transfers. And even though we're net positive in the transfers, in other words, the deficit is increasing again. So government is adding more to the financial balances of the non-government than it's taken away. But the progress is really slow. And that, if you look at the market and the slow recovery in the market, it should make sense to you because, let's go back to the swimming pool analogy. The water, the pool is getting filled up, but, it's getting filled up like with a garden hose. And then every time it reaches like a decent level, boom, you get these quarterly drains. And we have them, they're going to happen again in March. And the big one's going to happen again in April. So we gotta make up some ground here. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, is Thursday is a Social Security payment. So that should put us in positive territory. When I mean positive, I'm talking about finally the financial balances will put some distance between where we were on December 14th and now. So that's going to be good. And then, like I've been saying, I see a positive tone to the market until February 15th. Why February 15th, you might ask me, because you might say, hey, Mike, the next tax drain is not until March 15th. But we're going to peak out in mid-February because there's going to be a quarterly interest payment of about 45 billion or something like that, and then we'll peak out, and then we'll settle back down. But anyway, look, I didn't make an end of the year video, really, like kind of summing things up, and I'd like to talk about that now, just from a psychological perspective. I mean, it was a rough year, okay, even though like I took pains to describe to you as accurately as I could what was going on in terms of these flows and stuff like that, and how the first half of the year we suffered from not only tax drains, but a massive, it was a historic contraction in fiscal support. The media and the White House were cheering that, hey, we cut the deficit by like almost 2 trillion, but like I've been saying many times, that's 2 trillion subtracted from the financial balances of the non-government sector. That's us. Globally. It's massive. Like nobody seems to understand that. I know you guys understand that because, you've been with me for a while, but everybody thinks that's some kind of a positive thing. Like we even have in the new Congress now, I mean, the GOP-led House, and I talked about this yesterday in depth. I mean, the attitude there or the leaning there is very hawkish on the fiscal side. I mean, we really need, we either need tax cuts would be great right now. Income tax cuts would be fantastic, because I just mentioned that employment taxes are really the thing, like, that's keeping the balances, that's keeping the swimming pool level from going up. It's not even the quarterly tax drains. It's like these constant, employment taxes. Like we need an income tax cut. I don't think that's going to happen. If it happens under the Republican, like traditionally Republicans like to cut taxes, but, if they're going to cut taxes, what are they going to do? They're going to cut spending, right? They're going to justify it by cutting spending. Like, they don't understand. I remember, tax cuts are the equivalent of spending increases, and vice versa. Spending cuts are the equivalent of tax increases. So if you cut taxes and you cut spending, you've done nothing. One cancels out the other, basically. I remember having this discussion or this argument when I was still a contributor at Fox. We had some economist on there, and I said, tax cuts are the fiscal equivalent of spending increases, and spending cuts are the fiscal equivalent of tax increases. And it was that second point. He was like, no. Well, it is. It takes money. What is a tax cut? It puts money into somebody's pocket that otherwise wouldn't have been there. And a spending cut takes money out of somebody's pocket that was there. So it's like freaking... Anyway, look, let's talk about it. I want to more or less focus this video on the cycle. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough year. Like, I acknowledge that. And a lot of you, because I know this from comments, or I know this from my subscribers and stuff like that, and the trends there, a lot of people are giving up. They're giving up. There's this show on American TV right now called Special Forces, The Toughest Test. It's kind of a funny show. I don't know if you live here in the States, or if you could stream this wherever you are. There's they started off with 16 celebrities, quasi-celebrities. They're not like A-list, Hollywood people, but they're from Hollywood. They're from professional athletics. They're from business, and they took them out to the desert in Jordan, the country of Jordan, and they're running them through these kind of physical challenges that is supposed to equate to like the Navy SEAL or Special Forces. It's nothing like that, of course. They gotta jump off a helicopter into the water from like 20 feet backwards. But it's very interesting and funny, by the way. I get a kick out of it, but it's very interesting and funny to see how quickly people break down. And that's not a criticism. Listen, that's not a criticism. But it's an observation on my part that we could throw about these terms, weak and strong, but the fact of the matter is that most people are very, very attuned to comfort. And that comes in, and look, I have that too. I'm not saying like I'm something special, even though, I wake up every morning at 4 a.m., I work out, I run, and by the way, it's winter here in New York City, and I run shirtless, okay? I'm just wearing my shorts, my sneakers, maybe gloves, maybe a hat, but I don't care what the weather is. It could be snowing, and I'm not saying you got to do that. And by the way, like I've said in the past, I only take cold showers. And again, I apologize for this a side note that I'm doing. people are very attuned to comfort. And it's very hard for them to break out of their comfort zone. And again, I'm guilty of that in other aspects. But challenging yourself and accepting hardship and accepting like a tough time, that's where growth comes from. And I want to talk about, that's mental growth. It could also be physical growth, like if you go to the gym or whatever and you lift weights and you increase the resistance or whatever. But think of what we've been through in the last year. This was a very unique year. Like, you have to go back in history, at least as far as the stock market is concerned. There have only been a few times that we've had situations like this, and I can understand that people, they've been tested, they've given up, they become frustrated, they become apathetic, they lose interest. I see this. I see this every single day. I see this in my own subscriber rolls. Not that I'm complaining, because I also manage my own money, and it's frustrating. I understand. I have empathy for everybody who's in that situation and makes that decision, but it's just like, the way to think about this, in my opinion, is like you're being put to the test. Like, you're on that show. Imagine if you were on that show and like you had to jump into the water from a helicopter 20 feet up or whatever, even 30 feet up. And look, I'll be the first to admit, like, I jumped off a 10-meter platform, which is like 30 feet. I jumped. I didn't even dive. And that was like hard for me to do. But you do it. Okay, I wake up every morning. I don't want to go. I don't want to work out. I don't want to go run. I don't want to go run in the cold or the rain. But I do it. It's like, deal with it. It's like, just, make up your mind. I'm going to get through it. Like, this is a great, great opportunity. It's a great, great, challenge or test that you've been presented with. And there's different ways you can deal with it. You can say, that's it. I'm going to move on to something else. I mean, that is really short-termism. Look, as you might say, look, Mike, I got better opportunities than the stock market. And by the way, if you're telling me that now, that's just coming now because of how the environment is. You say, I got better opportunities in the stock market. I got another project, whatever. I have to tell you that, and I've said this before, not to belabor the point, but just to make a point. Like, if you look at the richest people right now in the world, okay, Bernard Arnault, LVMH #1, Musk, who's dropped down a lot, then the Indian guy, Adami, I forget his name. I think number 5, creeping up to number 4, about to take over Jeff Bezos. He might even have taken over Jeff Bezos already, is freaking Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett never created anything. Folks, if you have to question the stock market's ability to create wealth, personal wealth, all right? Not wealth in the aggregate, because we know that, like, if somebody buys a stock, somebody sells the stock. So somebody has more stock, somebody has less cash. I'm not talking about that. I would talk about that as an economist, and I have in the past. But I mean, the ability of the stock market to create personal wealth. I mean, isn't that obvious? But yet a lot of you, sorry to say, you give up because you go through a year when it's tough. And what does that say about your fortitude, your strength, your stick-to-itiveness? You know, there was a point in that show, the show I just mentioned, Special Forces, the World's Toughest Test. One of the participants, who happens to be, it was a Spice Girl. What was her name? Like, I forget her name. Dark-skinned girl, Spice something. And one of the other girls wanted to quit. Okay? She was crying, she wanted to quit. And the Spice Girls said, remember the Spice Girls, like back in the 90s, they were like the biggest group of all time. The Spice Girls said, just see what the next task is going to be. This is so, I mean, I was struck by this because she obviously had no history of going through these challenges or anything like that. She was as afraid as anyone else. She was shaking in a lot of these challenges. But the mentality, just see, before you quit, just see what the next thing is going to be. And, you know, give it a try. I mean, that is so applicable to every situation. Just see. Like, in other words, stick it out a little bit longer. You know, invest in yourself. Don't quit. Because if this, you know, forces you to quit, if this period of the last year or whatever forces you to quit, and you're like, I'm on to other things, the other things are going to end up having the same characteristic at some point. You're going to run into, I mean, every business, every entrepreneur, every achiever runs into the same thing. I mean, can't you just say, look, I told you guys, in May of 2021, I hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim in one day. It took me 15 hours, which I have to say, that's no record by any means, okay? Some people do rim to rim to rim in 15 hours. Okay, it took me 15 hours. And at the end, 11,000 feet of elevation change. You know, I went down into the canyon, and at the end of the day, when I was coming up, 69 different switchbacks. I wanted to quit, but you know, there's a big sign. When you go in there, it says going in is voluntary, getting out is mandatory. Think about that. You can go in, but you have to get out. Nobody's going to come out to save you. And going up, you know how many times I wanted to quit? Like, I couldn't do it. Physically, I was drained, and I think I'm in pretty good shape. Like, I work out, I run, I think I'm in pretty good shape. I wanted to quit, and I just told myself, just put one foot in front of the other. And every time I looked up at the rim of the canyon, it was the same distance. It never got closer. It never got closer. And I was like, this is impossible. I'm going to die here, man. But I looked down at the ground, at the steps, and I just looked at my foot going one after another after another. Eventually, I made it up. And then I had to walk 1.5 miles to my hotel in the dark, in the freezing cold, which sucked. And then when I got to the hotel, they said my room was down the road about 1.5 miles. I'm like, what? And it was dark. I had no idea. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So push yourself. Come on. Really. Don't give up. Don't say, oh, I got something else. Maybe you do have something else, and that's great, but like, don't give up on this. Don't give up on this. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Stay committed. Look at this as a test, a personal test of your perseverance, of your commitment, of your endurance, of your strength. Like, make it a positive thing. Go through it. This is your, special forces. It's your toughest test. You're going to make it or you're going to quit. It's easy to quit. And nobody's going to blame you if you quit. Nobody's going to blame you if you quit. But if you get through it, that's a notch on your belt. And you got to be proud of that. You're not going to face this forever. Or you're not going to face this anytime, probably anytime after, we get through this. This is a unique, extraordinary period. And it had a lot to do with the pandemic and other things, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But come on, man. Let's get strong. Let's do it. All right, that's it for today, folks. Have a great evening. Bye.